Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today's lesson will be on effective backtesting. So right off the bat, the software that we're going to be utilizing to backtest the strategy that we'll look at is FX Replay. I'm sure most of you guys have heard and or used FX Replay. I have no affiliation with FX Replay. It's just what I personally was introduced to when I was going through some of my backtesting phases in my trading journey. So getting right into it, let's create a session and let's just do 50,000 and let's trade, where are you? NASDAQ. Okay. And let's just do February 1st to March 27th. But for this example, since it's going to be quick, okay, we're just going to look at 10 trades that I'll put together just to show you guys an example of how you can backtest in FX Replay. The strategy that we will use for today's backtesting will be some of the concepts that we discussed from the previous video in relation to the 930 fair value gap. So again, if you're confused about any of the strategies we discuss here, they're discussed in the previous lesson on the channel, or if you're watching this inside of the server, okay, just scroll up and watch that previous video, okay? Okay, guys, so now we're just going to look at some price action. So we obviously have some clear relative equal lows here. We have swing high here. So that would be your buy side liquidity, this blue line up top. And then we do need to mark out 930 opening price. I'm going to label that on the right side there. Okay, and now we're just going to wait for our first fair value gap that we can classify as our 930 fair value gap. Okay, so we just ran these lows, and this is our 930 fair value gap. So essentially, now let's see if we inverse this 930 fair value gap. Okay, and after we go through the first example or two, we'll start to speed this up here. But I just want to show you the type of setups this will be. Okay, there we go. So let's put our limit order on. So we ran those lows below 930 open, the first fair value gap. After 930 open, we just closed back above. So this is actually a good example. Now I have to find the buy tool or whatever. Okay, so I'm getting this out here. Okay, so obviously we have these equal highs here, right? But my stop loss, I'm just putting it below this low. We've already purged it. If it does want to wick down into this lower order block after we ran these lows, we had the manipulation phase, which is our 930 open Judah swing, right? I need to allow my stop loss to not get hit if it wants to wick down into there, but I don't want to see it close back below this fair value gap. So if my stop loss is there, this is where we want to see price gravitate towards, but we want to see it push through there to really get and put on a trade that makes more sense to us. So let's get equilibrium of the range, okay? See how it's right there, right where those highs are? If we look above that, right? We obviously have this SIBI. We want to see us expand through that. I'm going to see if we can get up and grab this here. This fair value gap right there. That's in a premium of this dealing range. I just deleted the dealing range, okay? And if you see as well here, we have this swing high that fell just short of this inefficiency. So I'm going to right click this. I'm going to try to target that high for 3R. Okay, and then select this. I'm going to do place order. And then we'll just do 0.5%. We'll do save. Okay, so the limit's set. Let's play this out and see what occurs. So we just got that high. We got filled here. And there we go. So good move there. And again, this is just reinforcing the concepts we discussed with the 930 fair value gap there. We ran those lows. We left equal highs. Okay, we have a swing high here and inefficiency there. And then we close back above. That's the alarms going off per se to say, okay, I'm going to buy here. I'm going to target. Obviously, we want to see this initially get pushed through, but we want to see it reach for this. Okay, so good start here. again, we can see that 930 fair value gap, in this case, the inversion fair value gap, worked beautifully. Okay, so we're on to the next day, and we're going to see if we get a setup here. We have buy-side liquidity here. We already did run a lot of this buy-side liquidity here, and we have sell-side liquidity down here. I have 930 opening price labeled, and now we're just waiting to see what price structure comes to fruition right here. So let's continue. Okay, so we did get these relative equal highs there. Okay, and there's the first fair value gap, the 930 fair value gap. Okay, so what I'm looking at, if you recall from the previous lesson, talking about specifically the 930 fair value gap. Again, 930 open, right? We have manipulation above these relative equal highs. Yes, we failed to get this high, but look how this high already ran these ones here. Okay, I'm looking at this as back and forth movement. You can classify this as balanced price range, manipulation, purge buy side liquidity. Then we have an inefficiency. So I'm going to put my short limit here and see if we can come down and grab this low. So let's do that real quick. I have to grab the tool for that, open a short position. Okay. We want to target this low here at 17690.5, and I want to put my stop, okay, just above. I actually want to measure this. Mean threshold, that's what I'll do. A couple ticks above mean threshold of that order block. Okay. So now I have to select this, hit place order, save the limit order. Okay. Okay, we got filled. Let's see if we get it. And there we go. Okay. So another good example of how the 930 fair value gap is utilized by the algorithm. Okay. Just a quick note here. Look at how we wick up into it initially, fell just short, left those relative equal lows. We did come back up into it. It looks like we got exactly the high. Okay. Yeah, we got exactly the high. But look at the bodies after we wick into it. All right. So another good example here. Let's move forward. Okay. So for this next setup, just like the two previous setups, we have labeled our 930 opening price. We have sell side liquidity. We've ran some of these highs here. Okay. I did zoom out and look. We have these relative equal highs from London. It looks like we fell just short of them thus far. Let's get this labeled, the 930 fair value gap, and let's continue to see what price does. Okay. So it looks like we obviously fell short of these relative equal highs from the London session. But what is this? We just closed right below the 930 fair value gap. So I'm going to continue with this logic here. Let me actually look at, so I'm just looking at the fact that from, if we get filled here on the low of this, what would be an inversion now that we've closed below it. If we get filled on that there to this low, it wouldn't be the biggest reward. So I'm seeing what else we could reach for if we can make the trade kind of make more sense. So let me just grab equilibrium of this range from that low to the high right after 930 open. And we can see that that is right there. So let's actually grab this. Let's see what our R is there. Okay, let's do that. About 2R. Let's see if price wants to rip through there. And let's put our, let me just measure this real quick. Okay, I'll put it one tick or so above that mean threshold of this order block. All right, so let's put our short limit order there. Let's see if we get filled, and let's let the trade play out. Okay, so we're in the trade, and I guess it's that easy sometimes. Okay, so another example, guys. I mean, these are 3 days in a row. We haven't missed a single day. Okay, I'm just going to the next session. Utilizing the 930 fair value gap, 2-hour advantage. Okay, I won't harp on these concepts because you can see how the algorithm continuously refers to them, and it's pretty cool to see. But let's continue forward. Okay, folks, so we are back on the next day, and I want to zoom out first. If you recall from the previous setup, it looks like right at New York Open for today's session, the one we're looking at now, we did get those relative equal highs that we fell just short of yesterday. So right at 9:30 Open, we're purging that. Just a note for this particular setup, we did just come down and purge these internal range liquidity lows here. Okay, and we left a fair value gap right after 9:30 Open. Sell side liquidity down here. We have a lot of sell side right here, but obviously the market was strong since this turning point at what looks like about 720 on this particular session. Okay, and we should have been, I meant to place a short order there. Shoot. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's see if it gives it to us again. It won't. It shouldn't now, but we have to put it on just to get proper data collection. Okay, so that was a mistake on my part. That should have been 4 before. It's not a big deal, obviously. I don't think you can go back in time on FX replay. Okay, but obviously, what do we see? Do we see 9:30 fair value gap getting utilized? Right, remember we attacked all those highs from yesterday. Right there, right at 9:30 open. We utilize this, and then we go lower. Right, so another good setup here. Obviously, we should have been short there, but we can still review the price action and see these concepts in effect. Okay, guys, so for our next example, and this is probably going to be the last one, and then I'll just finish the rest of the 10 trades. Okay, you guys get the idea of what I'm doing based off what we've been through in this lesson and the previous lesson, discussing the actual concepts of the 9:30 fair value gap. For this setup, I'm looking at what you can see here, 9:30 open. That's that gray line going across. Okay, and then we have this fair value gap. Now, I don't really want to long this just because obviously this is a potential manipulation phase, right? Trapped longs potentially above this high, the first swing high that was made after 9:30 open. We have some sell side liquidity down here. So what I'm really waiting for is just to see if we can come close below it, use it as an inversion and grab these lows. Okay, not the best RR here, but I'm just testing out the concepts itself. All right, and the stop loss, as you can see, is a couple ticks above the inversion, but let's see if we get below it. If we don't get below, okay, let's say we didn't get below and we just expanded, I would just ditch the trade idea. But now let's see if they give us an opportunity to get involved. So let's place this short order, okay? And they did not, okay? So they ran that low. So I'm going to cancel this one, okay? And since they ran both sides here kind of, and didn't give me a fill here, I'm just gonna simply just move to the next day, okay? Okay, and as you can see here, I have finished out the rest of the 10 trades for this sample size that we were doing for this lesson with the 9:30 fair value gap. Of course, there's a lot more that can go into more specific back testing, and we will have future videos on that, and we will work on that inside of the server as well. But this was a good, I believe, starting point to kind of just walk through FX replay. It is a useful tool, and you can see how effective the 9:30 fair value gap is. So I like how it tells you your total P&L, obviously your account balance, your win rate, total trades, we had 10. And then, like I said, if we want to get more specific in future back testing case studies, I'll say, we can do things like once certain areas get tagged before our terminus, our final target, we can do things like move our stop loss and then really start to refine our system here. Okay, so good tool. Again, always mess around and put your own expertise on it. Add your own touch to certain strategies, whether you're here for me or other people. You need to backtest them and journal them and review them yourself to actually see them in action. So obviously, you need more than 10 trades to really have confidence in a model. Okay, so you want to have hundreds of trades backtested, right? But this is just a quick video on how you can utilize FX replay with the 930 fair value gap strategy and the concepts we discussed in that video discussing the fair value gap itself. Okay. So as always, if you guys have any comments, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments below, or if you're watching inside of RTO, just give me a ping and I'll be happy to get back to you. Later, guys.